welcome to IAPA Charter Journal Report. And IAPA is Indigenous Aboriginal People of America, and we are a nonpartisan political body that we represent Africans, brown, and to a grassroots community, from grassroots communities all over the United States. And hopefully we will have chapters in every state so that indigenous Aboriginal people can join and be a collective effort in unifying our demands and issues that we can lobby to Congress, our states, and our cities, as well as many other things. We can bring our issues to an umbrella because there's many groups that's out here that has a lot of issues that's affecting them, from grassroots movements on the prison system all the way down to fighting the corporations that's putting the illegal toxic food in our foods. So we have many issues that we can discuss and we must discuss, and some of them we need to stop because it's affecting our growth, our children's growth, and generational growth. But IAPA, before I got to get started, I'd like to welcome Ella Rue from Dirt to Work, and I'd like to welcome you to the show.
Thank you, sir.
And one of the issues that we're going to be talking about, besides unity, organization, and breaking the psychological chains of our oppressor that has been designed for your destruction, the day's topic is going to be dealing with what they are really doing to our people on wealth and how they're doing it by taking our families' properties right underneath our noses, because we're being distracted with these other issues and concerns that doesn't matter when we need to go back into the home structure and get that together before we all be, as I told them on Dirt to Work, we won't have any dirt to work on. The second thing we're going to be talking about is this slavery that's not being addressed by the powers to be that's in control. And it's like they want that to go on. And I think that's something that has to be addressed not only in America, but in the globe as well. These are particular issues that IAPA people need to look at seriously and for real, because these are issues that can affect us even here on the home front. And these executive orders that are being signed this past year, this year, because we're going to go to a new year, has that will affect us dramatically next year. So we need to get on board to what's going on, and if I say we have to be a distraction, that's be a distraction in the right arena, and on how they pattern their design for our destruction as IAPA Indigenous people. So one of the things I want to talk about is the how they stealing the wealth from Indigenous and Aboriginal people by our parents that are now in their 70s, and they signing over their documents like the Indians did
Exactly.
back in the day. And I want to ask Ella Rue about things that are happening here, even in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Yeah, well, Jay, I mean, this has probably been going on for a while. And, one of the things is that we as a collective people, we don't look at things across generations.
Mm-hmm.
Our generations are, meaning our parents, grandparents, children, younger adults. We're not all together. We're divided. Each section, just like in the Willie Lynch thing,
Mm-hmm.
Each group has their own business going on. The young people, they say, well, I'm young and I live forever, and old people can't tell me nothing. The old people say, well, those young people are a bunch of fools. they out of hand. They don't they don't do this, they don't do that. The people in the middle, they say, well, old people, the older people, they ain't got no sense, and the younger people ain't got no sense either. Mm-hmm. So it's all about divide. Everybody's divided, and they don't realize that young people are the children of the middle people, and the middle people are the children of the older people. In other words, we're all a family. Mm-hmm. And so what they're able to do because of that, whereas, like you say, the other communities, they sit back and plot and say, well, we're all together. We're interested. We're working towards the interests of our group. Mm-hmm. We're working towards the interests of our children and our grandchildren for the next 500 years, or the next, So they have a long-term vision, just like what they call the Illuminati, the Cabal. They didn't work a plan, one generation to another generation. It's like running a marathon, or running not running a marathon, but running the 400 or the 880. Relay. One generation hands off the baton to the next generation, and so forth and so on. This is how they go. So when they do their planning, they're planning on acquiring what is yours. They teach their little children to say, okay, you see that over there? You see that man? You see those people over there? Those people are your subjects. So when they're little, they tell them, those people are your subjects. Mm-hmm. So I want you to understand that this is what you have. And then they make plans for that. And they start planning and rearing the people to do these things. So, when the time comes, they have a long game. We don't have a long game. Mm-hmm. And what happens is, because we're so independent, everybody's so isolated, they can come in when you're old. Unfortunately, by the time most of our people get old, Jay, they have been so worked over mentally that they capitulate as soon as somebody comes in and tells them, comes in with a bright smile, or make them feel important for a second, and they, like to say, just like they'll sign away their family's inheritance, they'll sign away all their property just because somebody gave them a little attention, because they are isolated, because they made that decision to be isolated, or they make the decision that they're not working as a group. Mm-hmm. So there's no group consensus, there's no group incentive to preserve what's there. So everybody thinks, well, I'm making a decision for myself, and that's the greatest opportunity for someone who wants to take advantage of you.
But see, something you said when they was teaching their children, and that was part of design, because when they realized they did what they did with the genocide of one race, which was the Indians, when they signed over their lands or took their lands through war, then the enslavement of, like I said, the indigenous people and us from Africa to obtain the wealth without paying that labor. It came back to containing, and that was a good example of containing, when you teach those young people who they're going to have to go after.
Right.
And part of containing, and this is what you got to understand, that's a war. And containing the wealth is something that is by design. Now, how do you design containing it? Well, first of all, you got to secure the wealth to pass to the future, the 500 years, as he says. Then, you got to set up laws. And laws that will counteract that person that they're trying to get the wealth, or steal the wealth from. Regulations, so that regulation upon regulation, people understand the different regulations that are being set up, that would outmaneuver them of their property, or even changing the boundary line. Mm-hmm. The policies that are put in place that has gone over the years, mm-hmm. that has been went from secretly to now openly, now in the court systems, and now the court, as far as the justice or injustice that has been done through the laws, regulations, and policies and legislation, that they got to enforce it because it's set, a set new standard. And so these are things that we, as indigenous Aborigines people, have to take a step back to, as I always say, you go to the beginning and then you move forward, then you can understand their plan. And then once you understand that plan, then you know how to attack it to change it. And if you can't change it, then the next step is what you got to do. So my thing is that once you understand how the setup is, and that's all, but we're gonna call it a setup. Mm-hmm. We must find ways to put that setup back into the right place, and stop fighting each other, and stop doing what they're saying, divide and conquer. Oh, he's better, he's lighter, he's darker. Oh, what the heck? or oh, they could twerk better. My thing is that get rid of all the distractions and leave that alone. And if you're not for the betterment of indigenous people, then you are a threat. You are even a threat to your own people. So I think priorities have to be set. People need to prioritize what they're going to do so that they can combat this war we're in. And the next war is going to be the confrontation. As a friend of mine say, combatant. And so hope I said when that day comes, there's going to be a lot more casualties of war. Right now, the casualties are through their design system that they put in place, whether you go to prison and they take it, or whether you manipulate your family member to take it, or just outright take it, based on tax evasion, not tax evasion, but not paying your taxes. That the community church, hey, that's a good thing. Why don't the church go out and pay all the taxes for the black community? That way, they don't have to fall into that trap ever again. Oh, I forgot, they're taking properties too. So we got to remember that we got to look at everyone, the churches, the corporations, the system they have in play, the legal system they have in play. These are the design institutions and lenders that are set up for your demise. And this is one of the biggest threats to the indigenous Aborigines people of America, much less the world, but of America. We're going to stick with America right now. How do you see that?
Well, I think what you're saying about the policies and the laws and the legislations, I think that goes over a lot of people's head, which it shouldn't, though, because we don't understand that this is how they keep our people in bondage, utilizing laws, utilizing politics. So that's what IAPA is all about, is trying to make our indigenous Aboriginal people aware that, number one, politics is a very real thing. You may not have an interest in it, but it's a very real thing, and it impacts your life every day. It impacts your life on an economic level, a social level, and a political level.
Get entertainment.
And entertaining level. I mean, it affects you because these other groups are using their political organizations to put themselves in positions of power and decision making. And even though, many claim that they're a majority, it's only 1% of the people that's running the governments or working in the government. It's only a small percentage of people. So the people who are really making the decisions, you're still talking about a very small percentage of people. I don't think every American is a part of the conspiracy. But every American is complicit to the conspiracy just by not being engaged in politics and the political, dynamics that go on. It's like people take your land, they take your properties by doing things in the court systems, making decisions, and very often you're not even there. You're not even participating. I don't want to go down to the court. I don't want to go and answer what these indictments or what these allegations are being set against me. Mm-hmm. Well, then, when you don't, what they do? Well, thank you very much for not coming in, so we can just go right ahead and take whatever is yours, and we can put all kind of edicts and warrants out on you and arrest you when we see you. Because you don't want to be engaged in that. Guess what? Whether you are engaged in it or not, it's going to engage you at some point anyway.
And that's why I would say, if we don't have family members that can take control of that, or even churches that will step up and do the right thing and take control of that, then it's going to be up to the job of people like us, IAPA, that's going to put together a research team nationwide to protect the people. And that's one of the things that will come under the umbrella. We have to understand that this is serious, and if you're not,
yes, it is.
If you're not serious enough about yourself or the people of indigenous regions of nature, then we need for that group to step out the way, because that group is hindering the advancement in the future of indigenous people. So it's a lot of things that need to be addressed. We have to be focused and watchdogs and alert on everything they do, because they don't come in your community and do anything for nothing. And you got to remember, whether they get something direct or get it indirect, it's going to be gotten. And we need to set up our own teams to stop that. And that's on every area, no matter how big or how small. It needs to stop. And then people that will put the work ethic in front of it will do what they're supposed to do and stop it. Because if we don't stop it, then that's when slavery comes, and servitude, and they can lower the wages and you can't say anything. Because guess what? You don't have no property. You don't have a leg to stand on. And all the people that can hear my voice, and especially the vegans, if you really serious about dirt to work, think about it. If you have no land, then how are you going to feed yourself the correct foods? And as Yada says, you can heal yourself with all the natural foods, mm-hmm. but you need the land. And that is the key. We need to stop them from taking our lands. No matter how they are taking it, we need to stop it. And we know the avenues they're using, such as, going after our grandparents, our mothers, older in age, death, whether you have to put the home up for security for your son or daughter for, in jail, mm-hmm. or just like I said, passing zoning laws so that they can tear it down, mm-hmm. and get the property, because that's what's worth anything. Is the property, is not what's on top of the property anymore, because they're tearing them down as fast as they mm-hmm. Building them. So remember, property, you can build anything you want. I can't wait till we just go up in the sky, so that way, it won't be just the land. Now we got to deal with the air, but that'd be another subject. But the thing is that this containing wealth has destroyed indigenous Aboriginal people, because it started way back when with the Indians, and we the ones developed the land. They the ones that got wealthy on the land, and now their children are containing that wealth. And they by using any means necessary, disposable with the system, and got us to believe that it's legal, and that's the crazy part of it all, because I remember a time when you forming governments, as they say in political science, all laws can be changed. It's up to the people, and that's the bottom line to that particular issue itself. But I'm gonna move on to the next subject, because this is one that's touching me the most. Is the enslaving of indigenous people in the world. So IAPA W. So it's indigenous people of the world is being enslaved. And it's not only going to happen here, but it's happening right now before our very eyes in Libya. And as long as they had the men on the pictures, there's not much outcry, because they really don't care about the men. But as soon as the women hit those pictures and the children, we thought it was going to be more of an outcry. Now, they cried over Israel when they were talking about changing the capital. And over 2 billion Muslims are up in arms, but they're not crying about the enslavement of blacks. And it's the thing to do, or business as usual. And it troubles me. It really troubles me to know that they care less about human life, especially our life. And it really troubles me to no end. And the last picture I got is, why are they not discussing the slave trade in Libya? It's like this is not happening, and the American KKK media is mute. So if that is truly happening, then where has our humanitarian gone for life? And here it is, 2017, and that's something you wouldn't even expect to be happening now, but it's happening right before our very eyes. And this is a subject that has really has bothered me, because we like to go back and visit our homelands, but not to be enslaved when we go visit.
Right.
So that's not a pretty sight. It's bad enough watching them change the laws here. That's going to put us back into slavery.
Yeah.
So I think we need to be more focused and alert and watchdogs on everything they're doing in that White House, because it's going to change the very nature of how we exist, even today. One of the things that I pointed out, that I was telling people, that indigenous Aborigines are treated in the world, and we can see how they're being treated by what they're doing. And Libya has been the focus, but they're doing it in other places too. But Libya is the focus, because that's being controlled by the different white corporations that's trying to take everything they can get in there. But now that we see the women and children being put into slavery, bodies being harvested and murdered, the genocide continues here in America and in the world of us indigenous Aboriginal people. The greatest travesty the white world condones and will not stop in their so-called justice for humanity they preach in religion, in the world courts, the UN, TV outlets, and etc. And it makes me want to say, if we're not going to get that help from them, it's time for us to rise up. It's time for us to rise, and I will say that we have to, not only here in America as African people, but those in the world, for our existence and our rightful place on this earth. And that's what the real issue is. Our rightful place to exist either with you, but we want to exist. And that's the thing that bothers me, is that how can I tell my grandkids and their kids that they don't even want us to exist on this earth with them? And that is a sad state, a very sad state, that we are facing, and if we don't take control or stand up to fight this, whether it be this war is raging on. We must find ways to deal with this on the grassroots level, here,
right.
nationwide, and in the world. Because if it can happen to them, it can happen to us. If it can happen to us, it can happen to them. So that's the bottom line to it. And I hate to cut off from this point, but time is not on my side. But we need to stop slavery all over the world. Slavery should not exist on this earth that we call Earth.
That's right.
And that's the bottom line to that. So IAPA, Indigenous Aboriginal People of America, the charter, pretty soon we will have IAPA.online where you can get more information and know how to join, which will be a plus for everybody because the fight is about us. And I want to ask Elaru how can we reach you so that we can send our demands, our voices to you to deal with different types of issues on your program?
Well, yeah, we can be reached at IAPA.online.
Mm-hmm.
We should have the website flowing by the time this particular show goes on. And also, me personally, I have an email address. It is IAPA Collective, together, word IAPA Collective, one word, at gmail.com.
Okay. And you can reach me at rjwood1958 at yahoo.com. And I'd like to say, in closing, unity, 1, 2, organization, 3, breaking the psychological chains of the suppressors, design plan for our destruction. And these are the things that we must do as our indigenous people, not only in America, but of the world. Much love in each other.
Peace.